Hello and welcome to episode number 81 of The Pitcher or the Hitter, the podcast by the M-SABR Dynasty League for the M-SABR Dynasty League. I am Cam.
I'm Sahil.
And what a wild week it was. Offense was just off the charts this week. We had two records fall, one record tied. One of those records was even a pitching record. We'll get to all of that later. But at the end of the week, there was a three-way tie for first going into the week. That is no longer the case. There's only one team at the top now. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is there a four-way tie for third?
There is, yeah. Basically, I laid this out. Erik has sole possession of first. You are in sole possession of second. You are a half game back. And there's four teams that are tied for third who are a game back of Erik, and that includes me, Ruthvik, Conor, and Jake.
That is crazy. And a lot of that, with you playing Erik and me playing Jake this coming week, there are going to be a lot of shakeups here. I could definitely see a lot of things changing even this coming week. It's a crazy time. We're almost halfway through the season already.
It's hard to believe we've just completed our 8th week, and the regular season's 20 weeks long. Yeah.
20 weeks long this year. Yeah. Normally 21, but shortened.
Yeah. That was starting me off there for a sec. So yeah, wow. We are almost halfway through. That's actually really hard to believe. I felt like I had more time left than I did this year. Well, yeah, we are 8 weeks through. There are 12 left. I guess it's going to feel a little longer because one of those weeks is a 2-week matchup coming up.
That's true.
July
and
11th week.
Something about the lack of separation makes it feel earlier than it is.
Yeah, it kind of does. I feel like, well, at least for me last year, I was kind of lapping you all at the beginning, so there felt like a lot more separation at the top for me. But yeah, now everybody's really bunched up, and it is it's fun, but I mean nobody is really out of it up top. There could conceivably, like, especially 1 through 6, I could conceivably see ordered in like any different way, and it wouldn't really surprise me how that order is. So
absolutely. But before we get into those matchups and what caused those standings to be the way they are, we did have a trade this week. Just one this time we have to talk about. This was one that you made the day of recording on Sunday. You traded Brandon Drury, Ken Waldachuk, and Logan O'Hop to the Flex and Bellies in exchange for Chris Bassitt. Why don't you kind of talk through what happened here?
Yeah, I feel bad because I don't know if it's O'Hop or O'Hoppy, and I've now owned him for.
I think it's O'Hoppy, actually.
I think it's O'Hoppy too. I was about to say, well, I've owned him, so I should notice, but like I think I've owned him for all of like not even a week.
Yeah, you picked him up very recently.
Yeah, no. So I wasn't even necessarily looking for another starting pitcher. I have been a little disappointed with Charlie Morton, who was my big in-season starting pitcher trade acquisition. And I guess the back of my rotation was a little bit in flux, but I caught wind that Bassitt was available. I figured I'd inquire on the price. Bassitt's somebody that I've inquired on pretty frequently over the past few seasons. I just think he's a really stable back of the rotation arm. I was trying to get him when he was a little more under the radar. Now he's kind of blossomed more into kind of a solid mid-rotation starter in fantasy. And I knew that Daniel has been looking for outfielders pretty much since early in the offseason. I tried to sell him on Drury, and I initially offered Drury with Sedane Rafaela. And we kind of negotiated on some prospects. I added in Waldachuk. He wanted a different prospect than Rafaela. We talked a couple names: Colton Cowser, Austin Wells, and ultimately we settled on O'Hoppy. I think Bassitt will be a solid addition to the middle of my rotation. Maybe fill in kind of the role that I expected Charlie Morton to do. And unlike Charlie Morton, Bassitt's only 33, so there's conceivably a little bit of longer term upside here with Bassitt. I haven't seen like a decline in skills or anything. I expect him to, remain solid for the next few years. Drury was a guy who was going to be part of a roster crunch with Meadows, Muncy, and Correa coming back this week. And Waldachuk and O'Hoppe were not really prospects that, were kind of at the top tier of my guys. So I was willing to give them up. I think O'Hoppe was my least favorite of my catcher prospects, although I think he's a really interesting prospect who's hitting well this year in Double-A. And I know Waldachuk's been getting some top 100 hype, but he is a starting pitcher prospect. And I do have a lot of starting pitchers right now in the majors. So I thought this deal made some sense for me. I will say I do like the Bellies getting a bit younger here because Bassitt is 33 and they aren't competing this year. So nice to see them getting some longer term upside, not just with the prospects, but even Drury, who's only 29. And, I wonder if he's going to be able to, maybe be a little bit of a late bloomer. He's certainly a useful piece for that offense. I feel like, especially as he's kind of picked it back up after coming or having a slow start after. I want to say he landed on the COVID list in the middle of the month. He's a rat. You should probably know that more than I did, but
yeah, I think something like that.
Yeah, but he's been heating back up lately, so I think he'll be a nice addition for them.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start out by saying that Bassitt has been a little worse than I was expecting this year.
The home run rate is up a lot.
The home run rate is up a lot. Yeah, the FIP is up close to 4.5. So maybe he's kind of declining from his peak from the past few years, although he is putting up the highest strikeout rate of his career. So that is interesting. But I don't know. I think O'Hoppe is just a guy you picked up, and sure, he's hitting well as a catcher in Double-A, but I don't know. There's so many catcher prospects and so few rostered major league catchers in our league. So I'm not sure. I guess I don't know about Dylan Dingler. I haven't looked into him much this year, so I'm not sure if they think O'Hoppe is their number one or number two catching prospect. But either way, he's just a guy you picked up the other day. If they wanted him, they could have picked him up last week. Ken Waldachuk, he's 24-year-old Yankees AAA pitcher. Kind of reminds me of Clark Schmidt a little bit, who just kind of came out of nowhere. He's got a maybe an old-timey name a little bit. 24-year-old pitcher and pitching well in AAA, getting a little bit of hype suddenly around him, but most likely to end up in the bullpen or not doing a ton in the majors. Anyway, and then Drury's just kind of a pop-up guy who pop-up major leaguer who's hitting fine, but I don't expect to continue long-term or anything. So overall, you really did not give up very much. They definitely could have found a better offer for Bassitt. And from what I hear, there was a better offer for Bassitt.
Yeah. I know he really liked O'Hoppe, and actually when he had initially asked for Austin Wells and was like, well, if you want to catch your prospect, what about O'Hoppe? And he's like, yeah, I'll do that. But like, why are you giving me the better catcher prospect? So maybe they're just like really high on O'Hoppe. I don't think this is like a terrible deal for them or anything. I think.
I don't know. I mean, O'Hoppe is hitting better in 2022. That's for sure. But I certainly don't know why you'd call him a better catching prospect.
I don't know. I think a lot of the rankings have him higher because Austin Wells, like Fangraphs is never going to have Austin Wells high because he doesn't play defense. Austin Wells is a hitting prospect, so he's a better dynasty prospect, but he's a worse real life prospect.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's probably because he's not going to stick a catcher long term.
Yeah, I don't know. They've been playing him a lot of catcher, and I can't tell if he's actually going to stick there or not, or if they're going to give him a realistic chance. I think he ends up playing first or DH more, but I think that swing really fits the short porch they have in right field there, and I think he could be a legitimate power hitter. But yeah, no. But I will say your concerns about Bassitt are definitely valid though, and he has, especially recently, had some starts with a little more walks than you would like. I mean, his last 4 of his last 5 starts, 2, 3, 3, and 3 walks. He does have he had a bad outing against the Giants, and before that, not so great outing against the Cardinals. And I wonder if that's inflating some of the numbers. But yeah, you're right. He hasn't been as good in as good as last year. And I wonder if moving to Citi Field as opposed to the cavern that is the Oakland Coliseum has maybe boosted those home run numbers up a little bit. So that's
definitely possible. Not that Citi Field is a small park or anything, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's as good of a pitcher's park.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that was the trade that was made. Definitely raised a few eyebrows in the Dynasty chat, but I think a lot of those people hadn't really, myself included, seen Bassitt's numbers this year and the cause for concern around him.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some cause for concern, but I don't think it's like it's major. I think there's some risk, but I think like the risk is that he's more of the pitcher that he is right now, as opposed to maybe like the last 2 years where he was pitching like an underrated ace.
Yeah, that's fair. But anyway, are we ready to get into the matchups?
Yeah, we should. We feel like we just spent a lot of time talking about Chris Bassitt, so let's do that. Which matchup do you want to start with? I mean, there are a ton of interesting ones this week.
There definitely are some interesting ones. It looks like while we were talking, the Cardinals tied it up.
They did, yeah. Bader triple, scored on a Lars Nootbaar single. What a name. And Tommy Edman grounded out. Tommy Edman is one of the only other relevant players left. If at the time of recording, there's some stuff that Tommy Edman could do. I'm not going to list them all out that could potentially hand EVO a win. Where do we?
Yeah, let's hold off on that matchup because of that. With that in mind, are we ready to call my matchup with Ruthvik a tie?
I think so.
Because that's certainly the most interesting matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Ian Happ is all of a sudden going to steal a base, which is what you all would need to, what Ruthvik would need to flip this tie into a W for him. Worst case scenario, he ties it up later and we talk about it. But yeah, this one was bizarre. You hit very well. Ruthvik pitched very well.
Very nearly a patented pitcher or the hitter matchup, if not for his doubles and my saves.
Yeah, that was it was close, but a lot of other intrigue here too. I mean, you were down kind of big against him early in the league. I kind of thought.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 9-2-1 on Wednesday, something like that.
Yeah, I thought you were in a really good position, or he was in a very good position to win. And you just kind of clawed your way back, especially offensively. I know some of Ruthvik's, especially I think his OBP was a little higher at the beginning of the week. He didn't hit as well this weekend. You did. You especially went on a big power binge yesterday that really separated homers and ribbies. But he set the strikeouts record this week with 111. He had, let's see what he had on. Yes, was it Friday or yesterday? Or he had like a ridiculous. I think it was yesterday. He had 42 strikeouts. And that really set him up for the opportunity today to take it over. But yeah, what are your thoughts here? This was your matchup.
Yeah, definitely. I think the story is my hitting being great with the 59 RBI and the 51 runs, as well as Ruthvik's pitching being great with 111 strikeouts, one greater than the previous record, as well as his 2.18 ERA and 0.895 WHIP. All incredible, really fun matchup. I, like you said, clawed my way back. I really felt on Tuesday or Wednesday like I was in a lot of trouble, not just in this matchup, but long term. Because if I were to lose here, it being just at the beginning of the tough part of my schedule, and then with all of the injuries, my team this week was so banged up. Losing Gene Segura, losing Nolan Gorman, who is back now. I lost Kyle Lewis during the week. Just, yeah, so many. Brandon Nimmo missed a few games as well in the middle. I think, yeah, Lindor missed a game or two also in the middle of the week. So just so many things culminating all at once. I couldn't fill a lineup most days. On Sunday, I purposely didn't fill a lineup because I wanted to hold on to on base percentage. But
Yeah, I didn't know if that was a mistake or not. I was gonna
no,
ask.
that was on purpose.
Oh man, no faith in AJ Pollock, huh?
You're right, and it did not, and it paid off for me. He went over 5 on my bench.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah,
I don't think that
I
would
think
have OVP or anything, but it would have made it a lot closer. The way things played
absolutely.
out. So yeah.
Yeah, a couple more quick things. First and foremost, I am now a proud Frank Schwindel owner.
Oh
He has
God.
been really hot this past week. Since I picked him up, since June 2nd, he went 3 for 4 with a homer, 2 for 3, 3 for 5 with a homer, and then 2 hitless days. But he did drive in a run today. But in general, he's been hitting the ball well. I've thought about picking him up for a little while now. I finally, with my team being so hurt, I bit the bullet on Friday, picked him up, and he's rewarded me so far because I got that. You got the 2-hit game and the 3-hit game as part of it. Frankie 3 hits. Proud member of my team, at least for a little while. I mean, I know I'm rostering 4 first basemen right now.
Yeah,
Which is definitely a tough situation to be in because I got to stash 2 on my utility slots and not be able to use anyone else there. Which it brings me to my matchup MVP, whom I will declare as Joey Votto. Partly because it pisses you off a little bit, but he had a great matchup. Hit 2 homers, drove in 7 runs, which led my team. He had a 360 on base, hit 3 doubles. 2 of those doubles hit the very top of the wall at Fenway Park. I've never seen anything like that. Not like up towards like the highest part of the wall, but very literally the flat area on top of the fence and bounced back into play. Same game. In the highest fence in the league on the Green Monster was the second one, and the shortest fence in the league, that little 4-foot right field wall, was the first one. So really weird. Both could have been homers. Both, I guess, didn't matter either way because both doubles and homers weren't close. But yeah, no, that was he helped out my team a lot along with Aaron Judge. And if I wanted to pick someone on Ruthvik's team, well, Logan Webb had 16 strikeouts, but his rate stats, his ERA wasn't great. His whip was. Shane Bieber is, I guess, the other guy I want to. Him and Mackenzie Gore both struck out 11 and 10 respectively in their one start. Jose Barrios struck out 13 in his one start.
He's been bad this year, but like all of a sudden, like the start of his game yesterday did not look good. And the next thing I know, I looked up and he had 13 strikeouts. It's like Jesus. I guess a pretty decent Twins lineup too.
Yeah, and I guess the last thing there is to say about this matchup is, of course, Nestor Cortez.
Yep.
Moving on.
Cortez. I'll speak to Ruthvik's team briefly too. I think one interesting thing that we're going to see come up this week is he has a lot of players who are about to lose eligibility in the minors. He's got 4 orange guys on the sheet. So Joe Barlow 48 in the 3rd innings, Mackenzie Gore at 48, Luis Gonzalez at 112, Jaron Duran at 120. He's back up. Royanty Contreras, who pitched really well this week, and he's already at 26 in the 3rd innings. Matthew Swarmer and Caleb Killian also made starts. So I'm curious what this roster is going to look like, maybe even the next time we talk.
That's true. I will say I do appreciate that the orange and the red on that prospect sheet. I believe those are new either within the last couple of weeks or at the very least at the start of this year, and it's definitely nice to see. Not only for just looking through on my own, but for with my team.
Yeah, no, it's definitely convenient. But I'm sure Ruthvik loves, but also hates kind of seeing all these colors here on his board and thinking he has to find a way to make all these puzzle pieces fit. So as I know you might be another team who's going to have some roster crunches coming up soon. So I'm sure you could kind of appreciate what he's about to go through here. But
yeah, that might be me in in a month.
Yeah, I mean, Bruhan's up and he's kind of getting close, and Barrera will be back, and he'll require a spot. We've spent a lot of time talking about your team and Ruthvik's team. Do we want to move on to another matchup?
Let's do it. How about
Jake and Conor?
Yeah, Jake and Conor.
Yeah.
The second matchup we had to watch scheduled on our little agenda, Jake and Conor. Great matchup. Jake comes away with the victory, dropping Conor to 5-2-1, and improving Jake to 5-2-1. This one was tied for a really long time before Jake pulled through on the final day.
Yeah, I mean, it is weird because Jake did have the lead early in the week. Conor kind of clawed his way back, and then Jake just a couple dramatic like home runs. I know Matt Olson hit a 3-run home run. I think there was another one that gave Jake the dub. Conor had been actually leading briefly before that, but Conor set the doubles record. He got 2 Patrick Wisdom doubles. I incorrectly thought that 29 was the record going into today, but it was actually 28. So I initially thought that Conor tied the record, but he has indeed set the doubles record, and the game is still going on. Goldschmidt struck out, so he's not going to get a double from Goldschmidt here, it looks like, unless this game keeps going. It's 3-3 in the top of the 10th as we speak, but pretty solid offensive week for Conor overall. 56 runs, the 29 doubles, 347 OBP, 7 steals, 11 homers, 48 ribbies. I think the real difference here was the counting category, or the pitching categories just didn't go his way. He was competitive in the bullpen categories and in strikeouts, but Jake just dominated in quality starts in the ratios. And that's something we've mentioned a couple times now, where with Jake, where he's not usually winning the ratios in some of these close matchups. I think we actually, the last time we talked about this, used the example of what if he had played Conor, and he would have lost to Conor because of those ratios a couple of weeks ago. But Jake had a great 2.72 ERA and 1.14 WHIP. Conor did not, and that was the difference this week. Really, I think. Especially,
I don't know. I'm not sure it was the difference, because look at I guess if Jake had kind of had his normal 4.40 ERA and 1.30 WHIP, he still would have won both those categories. So he could have chosen a better week to have his pitchers go off like this.
Well, fair, but you still, I'd rather have my team play as, if I have to pick the weeks where my team does comparatively better, I'd rather it be against these better opponents. And I think it's good that his team was able to show up here. And Jace has had some rough ERA and WHIP weeks the past few weeks, so nice to see him have a good one.
That's true. It's a proof of concept at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we're kind of splitting hairs here with the. I could say home runs and ribbies flipped it too, because those are 2 categories, and if he would have lost it, he would have lost. So it's just it's really however you want to talk about it. But that's
true. Either way, Jake played it incredibly this week.
Yeah. His offensive stats were great too. I mean, 13 homers, 54 ribbies are very solid numbers, 359 OBP. Even the offensive categories he lost were like, he performed really well in the 50 runs, and 26 doubles should win you doubles like 9 out of 10 weeks.
Probably way more than that. I mean, 99 out of 100 weeks, I'd say. How many times has a team ever gotten 27 or more doubles? Like 4 times?
Yeah, I think 4 times now. Because I think there was a tie for 27 before Ruthvik set 28 a couple weeks ago, and now 29's record. So that's a statistical anomaly in our league here, to lose with 26 doubles.
It absolutely is. But yeah, no, I think it was an interesting week. And the one interesting thing I noticed was that Jake did not use a single ad drop this week.
Wow, he did not. I didn't even notice that. Is his team just relatively healthy or something? Like, what's?
It looks like it is. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a ton of people on the IL. It's just, he's got some pitchers, but 3 of those are guys that he's just kind of holding on. Well, I guess, Paxton and Mesa. Pearson, someone who's a long-term piece, but Paxton and Mays are just kind of nothing. So really, no. Besides Tyler McGill and maybe Hunter Renfroe, nothing. He's not really missing anything. And his team, there's no one. Yeah, there's no one really easy to cut, I would say.
Yeah, I don't think there's he's built some nice depth here, especially in the pitching side. I'll give him a lot of credit for that. I know some of these options have their moments where maybe they aren't pitching the best. I'm thinking like Alex Wood, Alex Cobb, although Alex Cobb's been the unluckiest pitcher this year. Maybe Garrett Whitlock hasn't looked as sharp as last. I take that back. He's actually kind of rebounded a little bit the past couple of starts. It helps when you're facing the Orioles and the Reds, but there was a span there where he wasn't looking as sharp. This team's rolling, and I know you play them next week, and I know playing a healthy Jake team is going to be very scary, and I'm sure you are not looking forward to that.
I am not. I did have the pleasure of seeing two of Jake's starters this week at Fenway. I went to both Reds games at Fenway. Oh God, Ian Happ is the ghost runner this inning, according to Ruthvik, or the zombie runner rather.
Ooh, well, they might steal third for fun. I'm sure they're gonna just bunt him over because it's still a 3-3 game. Tommy Edman did not score, and Tommy Edman would have put EVO down only one run had he scored that inning. But Tommy Edman also started the inning on second and didn't steal. So I don't know if Ian Happ has the speed where I would trust him to go steal second to third with no outs when you just need a run. But I've seen crazier things happen.
Yeah, we will be watching this. Before we move on, matchup MVP Luis Castillo looked phenomenal in his first start. 10 strikeouts, I believe. Second start was solid. Frankie Montes made 2 terrific starts as well. And if we're looking for one of his hitters, say, you can't go wrong with. Jordan Alvarez is looking like MVP. Oh my God, look at that week. 630 on base, 4 homers, 8 runs, 8 ribbies. This is one of the best hitting weeks I've ever seen.
No, he's on a tear recently, and he just signed a big contract extension this week. So congrats to
Jordan
Alvarez. Yeah, I had a brain fart there for a second. It looks like Wilson Contreras is on second base actually, and Ian Happ is batting. I think Ruthvik got that mixed up because Contreras struck out to end the last inning.
Okay, and I can't imagine. So here's what I could see. I could see if Happ gets a base hit, I could see him going to second on fielder's indifference. Which I could see Ruthvik getting, or catcher's indifference, which I could see Ruthvik getting mad about it not being called a steal, and I could see that causing some controversy here and some screams on my part in the next 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm hoping that's not what's going to happen, but it would be kind of funny if it was and it got called indifference and they did not give him a stolen base, because I mean he wouldn't have any need to steal. Just calling my shot here. But do we want to move on to the next matchup?
I have one question before we go over there, actually. I think we've been debating this for a few weeks now, and they played each other. So I figured this might be a good time to ask the question. Who do we think is better, Jake's team or Connor's team? It's now been, we're now past Memorial Day, which at least for me was kind of like my imposed, like, I'm not really going to discuss like substantial changes to the order until then, but I'm curious where you come out on that question now.
I think I do feel comfortable putting Jake ahead of Conor now, after we saw him get the win. But I will say it's still close because I think Conor played really well this week. At least he hit really well. And we know what his pitching can do from time to time. But with Jake having the head-to-head record and being ahead in the tiebreaker and being presumably ahead in the roto, I know we did it once and Jake was doing, I believe he was fourth in the roto behind you, me and Erik.
He was like 20-some points ahead of Conor in that roto too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So I feel comfortable putting Jake ahead of Conor at the moment.
Yeah, I think I'd say so too. Hap grounded out, by the way, so move Contreras over to third.
All
But Hap
right.
is not
I
on
think
base.
it's fully safe to say that matchup's a tie.
Yeah, wow. Genesis Cabrera's in for his third inning of work. Yeah, I think what I will say is the combination of the roto, which I don't think the roto, if it was super close, would have been super telling of anything. But I think the fact that there is a substantial difference, I think probably shows that Jake's team has played a bit better this year. I'm not saying Jake's team is perfect or anything. I still think there are some concerns, as showed the last 2 weeks when he lost and kind of fell out of that top spot with Erik. But I think he's a better team than Conor's team right now. But it is close, and I do think Conor's team has played a bit better this year than he was playing like most of last year. So
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
I wasn't impressed with Connor's team most of the time last year, but I have been this year.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I 100% agree with that.
All right. But speaking of teams to be impressed with, let's talk about the third team that that is going to get on that records part of the sheet, and that is the Crone Zone. Andrew, how many homers was that?
24.
24 homers, ties the record. 61 ribbies is a big number. 9 quality starts was just one shy of the record, and he ERA below 2.5 and a WHIP just north of 1. He had a very convincing win over over Anthony, and it's kind of a shame that he couldn't put it to use against a better team, because he would have beaten Erik this week.
He would have. I mean, Andrew just dominated. It's crazy too. He's only one quality start short of that, of tying that record too. I don't think anybody has tied or set multiple records in a week. That would have been a lot of fun. But
unless you count the first week ever.
Yeah, unless you count the first week ever. Yeah, thank you for that clarification. So the second time I've heard it today.
Or maybe it happened some other time in the first season. I don't care enough to take a look.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much to say about this matchup other than Andrew just absolutely dominated, and it's been tricky with Andrew's team this year, because I feel like it's just he's been very high variance. Like, he played the week he played me a couple weeks ago, I didn't think he looked particularly impressive. This week he just really dominated on the pitching side. I know he's been like looking to find like good quality starting pitchers, and he's really been putting himself out there trying to find another ace. But I wonder if he just has some of these pitchers on his roster already. Like Framber was solid, very solid this week, as he has been all season. He has a 2.57 ERA this year. Good for him. Zach Gallen has rebounded nicely this year. He has a 2.32 ERA. Jordan Montgomery has been part of that really solid Yankees rotation. Luis Garcia, that Kyle Wright trade's been looking really good for him. Tyler Anderson was a really good find. He's been, how surprised are you when I tell you that Tyler Anderson is a 2.59 ERA and a 0.95 WHIP this year?
It's crazy. Yeah, I'd love to do a deeper dive into his numbers, because I saw them for the first time earlier this week, and they're just wild. I never would have thought.
His last 3 starts are 20 shutout innings. He's given up 13 hits. He's only walked 1, and he struck out 19. Yeah. No, he's nuts. I mean, 32. He's never done this before. Patrick Wisdom just stole a base. I don't think that affects Conor's matchup. No, Conor already had 7, but Patrick Wisdom did steal a base. So I wonder, in theory, if Ian Happ would have gotten on there, maybe he would have stolen a base.
Oh God, I shudder at the thought. Oh man,
that's wild. Yeah, great week for Conor. I mean, as for Anthony, nothing really too different from him. The 9 steals were nice, but they're dropping to 0-6-2 now, and I think Anthony's going to continue to sell off some of these veteran pieces, and I wouldn't be surprised if, like, I don't know, like Yasmani Grandal was one of the next pieces. I could see him wanting to keep Kevin Gausman, but I wonder if Kevin Gausman will just net him such a ridiculous return that it might be time to move off of him. That It's funny, actually. I'm getting a little off topic here, but a year ago tomorrow, the Will Smith has agreed to send Kevin Gosman to Team Resnick for Jordan Balazovic, Tariq Skubal, and its 2022 first round pick.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a fun one. I mean, I know Scubal's been pitching well.
Oh, Skubal's been pitching like an ace. Skubal might be pitching better than Gosman right now.
That's true. Gosman's been pitching great.
They might be the two best starters in the AL right now.
Yeah, don't forget Shane McClanahan.
I forgot about Shane McClanahan. Shane McClanahan down there in Tampa is just fine under the radar. Actually, he really isn't fine under the radar. But yeah, I bet Anthony wishes he has Skubal back right about now. But yeah, anything else you want to say about this matchup?
No, matchup MVP. God, Andrew had a lot of players who had great weeks. I think Andres Jimenez is a good one. He hit 3 homers. He drove in 9 runs. He also stole a base. Scored 5 times with a 474 on base percentage. I think that's a fun one because he's not really a star even. He's only 24% owned, but he really helped Andrew's team out a lot. And then of course he had some great pitching performances. John Gray had struck out 12 and 7 innings, quality start, allowing 1 run. So I'd say one of those guys for matchup MVP. Let's go with Jimenez.
I love it. All right. Want to move on to our next matchup?
Yeah, let's do it. I think we're still holding off on that EVO matchup just in case it flips. Want to talk about yours?
Yeah. Let's talk about mine. I think it's looking less and less likely that it's gonna flip, but let's do mine first just in case. I won 7-3-2 over Yuki. Very solid week for me overall. I had 63 runs this week, which like the league high is 71 as a single week record. So 63 is quite a bit. Yuki finished second in runs this week with 60 and lost that category. And I'm sure that's one of the higher numbers of runs to score in a week and lose. But I was really happy with the way my team performed this week for once. It kind of felt a little more like an old school, Yellow Champ performance. The offense was there. It's 17 home runs, so nice to see the power coming back a bit. 82 strikeouts was really good. My 8 holds I really liked. I wish I would have seen a few more quality starts, but I'll take a 3.71 ERA and a 101 WHIP the way some of my pitchers have been pitching. That number would have been a lot lower if not for a blow up by Marcus Stroman. But kudos to my team. I had an 8 ERA even after Marcus Stroman blew up, and at that point I was losing to Yuki. Things weren't looking well. I was like, I'm going to lose this week. And then my team rattled off 43 1/3 innings pitched with only 5 earned runs given up. So that included 4 quality starts and a crap ton of holds. And I was able to win 4 of the pitching categories here. It was very nice to get revenge over Yuki after the week 3 tie. And it was nice to see this despite my team being really banged up. You and I were together on Monday when Woodruff and Gray and Correa all landed on the IL on the same day. Wilson Contreras got hurt. I'm still missing Austin Meadows and Max Muncy. So it was a little bit of a mess of a week, but injury wise, but I think my team actually played better at the beginning of last year when I was a little more banged up as opposed to when my team was relatively healthier towards the end of the season. And I played like 500 ball after losing that, after that win streak kind of fell apart. So yeah, maybe injuries was just what my team needed to get itself back together. So,
maybe, yeah. I mean, you've been missing your best player this whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'll speak on Yuki's team now. He had a good week again. I mean, obviously the runs were spectacular and he stole 8 bases. 6 saves is good. The rest of the stats were kind of meh, like 15 doubles and 12 homers and a week with this amount of offense isn't spectacular or anything to write home about. But he definitely got some great performances out of guys like Swanson and Bryce Harper in particular. But I will give the matchup MVP to
Pete Alonso, maybe.
Let's check out Pete Alonso. Yeah, Pete Alonso did hit 4 homers and drove in 8 runs with 7 RBIs. I'll give it to him with a shout out to Trey Mancini, who hit 2 homers, scored 9 runs with 3 doubles, as well as Ketel Marte at a 476 on base, someone I'm maybe looking to trade for. We'll see.
Yeah, gee, I wonder if I heard about trade talks with Ketel Marte from Cam this week. I don't know. I will say one more thing. I feel like Pete Alonso is flying under the radar, but going into today, he was tied for the NL lead in home runs and the league lead in ribbies. He's tied with Mookie Betts with the homers and tied with Jose Ramirez with the ribbies. And I feel like we're hearing a lot about Jose Ramirez and Mookie Betts this year, not as much about Pete Alonso. So hard to believe a New York first baseman's flying under the radar, but he is killing it this year. So figured I would point that out. But that's about all I have to say about my matchup. Unless there was anything else you wanted to talk about.
No, not really a ton to say. Not really a ton to say here. The Cardinals have a 4-3 lead in the 11th now. Do we just want to talk about EBO and if something changes, we can make a note?
Yeah, let's talk about EBO. EBO more likely than not has tied Alex and Zach this week. This is EBO's second consecutive tie. It's fun to see their ties come back. But yeah, they were down this week early. They kind of seems like a theme of a lot of teams. Down early, they came back and then kind of settled into a tie. But overall, pretty solid performance by them, both hitting and pitching wise this week. It just wasn't enough to get the job done against Alex, who also hit very well and hit just slightly better than them and most of the categories, and also pitched pretty well and was able to beat them in quality starts and saves. So I'll say a very good showing for Alex, whose team I know has had some really lean weeks the first few weeks of the season where they have just looked really terrible. But I'd say tough luck for EBO. Putting up a strong week, but not being able to capitalize and get their second win on the season.
Yeah, no, for sure. EBO has to be bummed, thinking this could have been an easy win to get back towards that playoff picture. Couldn't pull it off. But yeah, no, you're right. Alex and Zach have a team that I have written off, but they looked really solid this week. They stole 10 bases. They scored 48 runs, or drove in 48 runs, scored 52, 20 doubles. The pitching was solid too. The ERA was a little high, but a great whip, a lot of quality starts, and some great performances. I have a name in mind for matchup MVP, and it's going to be one you're not going to like. It's Brendan Rodgers. 424 on base, 10 runs, 4 homers, 7 ribbies. He is well on his way to having a better career than Garrett Hampson. That's my hope, at least. He certainly had a better week than him.
Yeah, Garrett Hampson is pretty bad. Garrett Hampson did randomly hit a home run this week, which I was happy to see. But I do think I'm losing that bet. For those of you who don't know, when Cam and I were having some intense debates over a Patrick Corbin, Brendan Rodgers deal, which in hindsight looks very inconsequential. I was a Garrett Hampson truther at the time, and I might have still owned him at the time. And I was like, yeah, Garrett Hampson's going to have a higher career award than Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers was not healthy and ineffective at the time. And it's not like Brendan Rodgers, I don't think he's really been amazing or anything, but he is.
No, not really.
Even better.
I mean, he had a great game on Sunday today. So
Didn't he have a 3 home run game this week? He did. Yeah, on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Despite the 3 home run game, he still has an 86 WRC plus this year after having a 100 WRC plus the year before. So there's your warning that not all these prospects are going to pan out. Brendan Rodgers was what, at one point a top 10 prospect?
I believe so, as was Nick Senzel.
Brendan Rodgers is still only 25.
Yeah, no, he's still got time to turn it around, and I mean, he had a great week this week. If he can string together a couple of those,
yeah, man, Nick Senzel, he's about to be 27. That's hard to believe. I remember when Senzel was just a little baby prospect, and we were all a lot of hype around him, especially at a 2019 season, a 12 homer, 14 steal season. He could kind of be like, maybe next year he's going to break out more, and then no. Is that all the matchups we had to talk about?
Nope, there is one more on our docket. Erik had Erik is the best team in the league. He had a very easy win over the worst team in the league. Erik hit 26 doubles on his own, so he was close to breaking that doubles record. Had a fine week, although some of the runs in RBI's numbers look good for a normal week, but kind of ranked towards the bottom among teams this week with how well everyone hit.
Yeah, like solid but not spectacular week by Erik is probably how I'd phrase how he did in most of these categories. The 83 Ks is nice, the 26 doubles is nice. And really weird because I think there was like 3 teams today who had a realistic shot of breaking the doubles record, and he was one of them. Erik did not quite get there, but yeah, the type of week where it just, solid, just Erik's kind of on a roll. He's interestingly used all 8 of his ads this week, which I wouldn't have expected, but good for him for maximizing the ads that he had and was able to build some nice leads in some of these categories. I do wonder what this matchup would have looked like if the Bellies would have set their lineup, because a few of these categories are actually fairly close. I mean, runs was close, OBP was close, ribbies was close. Quality starts, I know the Bellies left at least one quality start on their bench, and that would have been enough to tie quality starts. I don't know if they left a save or a hold on their bench this week, but that could have flipped one of those categories. So curious how that would have played out. But yeah, overall, very good performance by Erik. Do you have a matchup MVP?
Not off the top of my head, but I will find one quickly. Yeah, Erik, I mean, his hitting was his strength and what put him over the top. I will say matchup MVP. It could be a few people. Jose Ramirez had a great week with a 423 on base. Hit a pair of homers. What?
I said, what doesn't he have a good week at this point?
Yeah, I've probably picked him as MVP more than once. I would say that Christopher Morel had a good week, just as kind of a guy that Erik picked up off waivers. I was really, really bummed. Thinking of adding him, bummed that Erik had already owned him. He set some sort of record, most consecutive games on base to start a career.
Yeah, so something like that.
Yeah, something like that. He's Cubs outfielder who's breaking out. He had 364 on base, scored 7 times, stole a couple bases. I'll give it to him. MVP doesn't always have to be the star.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. Well, I do have some breaking news.
Oh,
a category has flipped, but not one that matters. Yuki got a double from Brendan Donovan that gave him the doubles lead, and I am now only winning 7-4-1. I know it's a bummer. We're all bummed out. It's okay. I'm bummed out too. But yeah, that's not really affecting the matchup here. But the Cardinals are now up 5-3, and Tommy Edman is up. So maybe he singles here and then steals a base. That would be pretty wild. But we're not going to focus on that. Do we want to talk about our matchups of the week?
Yeah, let's dive into the matchups. Matchup of the week for week 9. A couple good ones. The honorable mention is me versus Jake. Me being 5-1-2, him being 5-2-1. Big matchup implications for being in the top two on the line, having that bye position. But I think, despite the gap in the standings, I think the clear matchup of the week has got to be you versus Erik.
You talk about a gap in the standings, but the difference between the gap in that matchup and in your matchup with Jake is only half a game. It's not that big of a gap.
The difference in differences is half a game.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's true. But either way, yeah, Erik's in first right now. You're in that big clump, versus me being in second with Jake being in that big clump. But either way, yeah, you faced off with Erik in the finals, and you're both the two most successful teams over the entire history of the league. That is, it's always a lot of fun when you two play each other.
Yeah, no, I am simultaneously scared, but also looking forward to this matchup. I was really happy with how my team performed this week. I expect to get some guys back from injury. So I think I'm cautiously optimistic that things might go better than they did the first time around when I played in week 1 and lost 2-9 to 1. Interestingly, I don't think either of us have he promoted Hunter Green earlier today, and Hunter Green has a 2-start next week. But other than that, neither of us have like 2-start starters or 2 starts from any of our big guys. So I'm curious to see how that goes. I think it might. I like to think this one's going to come down to the wire, unlike the last one. I like to think this one's going to be closer. And if I continue on my trend, since I lost to him week 1, I haven't lost a matchup, but they've gone now win, tie, win, tie, win, tie, win, which means that next week, if it holds to that trend, should be a tie. But we'll get there here in a second.
Yeah, we'll get there in a second. I don't know. It's not often that I root for you, and I feel weird rooting for you, but I have to this week. You're facing the one team ahead of me in the standings, who also happens to be my rival.
Yeah, there's a conceivable scenario in which I beat Erik and you beat Jake, and you have sole possession of first place. So
yeah, I have never. I've led the Roto in the 2020 Roto season, but I've never had sole possession of first in this kind of thing. So that would be a first for my team, but we are getting ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about how well we did last week. What were our results in the pick'em, and let's get picking.
Yeah, so we had kind of an interesting week. You and I only had one difference in the way we picked. I picked Conor and Jake to tie. You picked Conor to outright win. Jake won that matchup, so we were both wrong. I picked you to win. You picked Ruthvik to win, and you all tied. So both of us were wrong, but we both picked EBO, Andrew, Erik, and myself to win. We were correct on Andrew, Erik, and myself winning. EBO ended up tying to Alex and Zach. So I went 3-0-3 on the week. You went 3-1-2. That means I am up to 26-11-11. And you are at 25-9-14. When you convert the ties, you are 32-16, and I am
You would be 31-15-1.
Yes.
31, yeah, 31-16-1, excuse me.
31-16-1.
So half a game behind.
You are a half game ahead of me, which means that you, by virtue of that, still get to pick first.
I do. Let's start out here with I think EBO will beat Anthony. Anthony has not played super well this year. I think Yuki will beat Alex and Zach. I think Andrew versus Conor is a really fun one.
That's a fun
I think, I don't know. My gut wants to pick Andrew. Andrew played really well this past week. I'm gonna go with him. Maybe a little bit of an definitely in a little bit of an upset. I think Ruthvik and Nick will have no trouble with Daniel and Greg. In my matchup versus Jake is always a tough team to play. I'm definitely worried, but I do have faith in my team. And as for you versus Erik, you know how it is. This is a boring way to go, but if you're winning, alternating wins and ties, that means tie is next, and it's a very conceivable possibility. If you both play at your best, I am. Give me that necktie.
Give you that necktie. All right. Whew, okay. And I realize I just typed these all in on my part of the sheet. So, and you picked yourself to win?
I did.
All right. I was not paying attention and did not type that one in. Okay. God damn it. I'm gonna pick the harder matchups last. As usual, I'm gonna pick EVO to win Anthony. I don't know if that's going to be particularly close, but EVO seems to find a penchant to play close games. I think Ruthvik and Nick are going to be Daniel and Greg. I don't think that one's going to be particularly close. All these other ones are interesting because like Alex and Zach played very good this week, as did Yuki, but I think Yuki is probably going to pull it out. I don't know if I have faith in Alex and Zach replicating this performance next week. Conor v. Andrew is a really interesting one. I'm going to pick Conor only because I feel like Andrew has kind of some of these it was more of a high variance team, and I could see the flip side of how he performed this week, just kind of him not having as good of a week next week. I feel a little safer with picking Conor. As for you and Jake, and you're not going to like this, but I'm going to pick Jake.
Really?
And the reason I'm going to pick Jake is his team's just healthier than yours, and he has more 2 starts this week than you do. And
that is fair, but he was going to out-quality start me no matter what.
Yeah, but that's also going to help with some of the quantity stats as well. I don't know. He's just you also this year low-key have like you've been beating the teams that you need to beat, but do you have a win against a team with in that top 6? You lost to me, you tied Conor, you've now tied Ruthvik. Your wins are against EBO before Sully was on, Yuki, Daniel and Greg, Anthony and Andrew.
No, I mean it's a prove it week for me, I'm sure, but it is. I still think I've played well.
No, I'm not saying you haven't played well, but you know, there has to be some drama, right?
I suppose so.
Yeah. And I'm not going to pick myself to tie Erik because the one thing that didn't happen in that win tie back and forth was I lost to Erik week 1. And I think what a better way to bookmark that loss with another loss. So I'm picking Erik to win.
Oh.
Yeah.
No faith in either of our teams.
Yeah, I think Erik's team is just playing really well, and I don't see a really logical reason to pick against his team. I don't know. It's just like I feel good about my guys after this week, but Erik is just Erik's just been doing really well. And I don't usually pick against myself. This might be the second time I've picked against myself all year, ever. This is the second time because week 4 we each picked each other to win. When I played you,
right? I remember.
And that was the first time I had picked against myself. I wasn't feeling good about my team after tying Yuki, but yeah, I just Erik's team's playing better, and I can't think of a defensible reason to not pick him to win.
All right, so there you have it. Those are our picks. You'll tune in next week. Hopefully you'll tune in next week to see how right we were, how wrong we were, and if either or both of us are going to be disappointed with the results of our matchups. We both got big ones, and really we've all got big ones. It's an exciting time for the league.
It is. It is always an exciting time for the league, but right now, I feel like it's been especially fun with obviously this race to the top here. But even some of these teams like who aren't currently in line for a playoff spot have actually, some of them have been looking pretty interesting. I mean, we've talked quite a bit about how Yuki's team has been playing pretty solid, but just hasn't been pulling out wins. Andrew's had some solid weeks. I mean, he's now just a half a game below 500. EVO's looked a lot more interesting since Sully has come on in the league. So, hey, we'll see how this plays out.
We will. No, there's still a lot of season left to be played. Anything can happen. But if that is all we had for today, I want to thank you. Thank you for being here. Good luck to everyone. And see you next week. We really need a good sign off. We need to come up with a sign off. I know we say this all the time, but we need to come up with something good.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. They've been pretty bad. Maybe this is our sign off this week. Our realization that we need a sign off. You know what?
Yeah, I think.
You know what? To the listeners out there, if you can come up with a good sign off, DM it to Cam and I, and we will contemplate it. We'll try.
Yeah, let's crowdsource sign offs, because it was kind of fun when we were bad at it earlier, but now it's kind of, we've been like making the same jokes for 20 weeks about how bad we are at sign offs, and it's getting enough. Let's crowdsource some sign offs and figure this out.
Yeah, we will. I'm sure we'll come up with a good one. Someone will. Maybe it'll be a few options. We could try out some different ones. I guess the fitting way to sign us out is that the Cards Cubs game has ended. So all of the games have ended for this week, and all of the matchups are final.
All right. Yeah, perfect way to end it. See you next week, and tell us what to say next week.
Yes, please tell us what to say.
This podcast is good.